They have to actually plan for that and create positions for persons to be able to interpret the news for persons with hearing impairment. Coming to priority number 4, that is page 15. We are talking about access to sports and recreation. Persons with disabilities also have a right to be able to have their recreational facilities. We are working with the ministry responsible for that. We hope they'll be able to build sporting facilities and recreational facilities suitable for persons with disabilities. Looking at priority number 5, we're looking at access to basic education. As we know, primary education is free, but we are having problems with children with disabilities who attend these schools because you find that there are no sign language interpreters in the school to be able to interpret to children with hearing impairment. For visually impaired children, you find that they don't have the right training material for them to be able to learn at par with their peers. We are already working with a special education unit that works with children with disabilities, and we are encouraging them to increase their budget to accommodate such children. Going to the next priority area, which is access to public health. As we know, there are clinics throughout the country, but there are people with disabilities who live in the remotest of areas who are not able to access health facilities. We are also working with the Ministry of Health, and we hope they will come at par with us, because what we want them to do is to have mobile clinics. I have realized that they already have a motorbike that has a mini mobile clinic. Maybe it's because of the consultations we had with them, because there are some hard-to-reach areas where people with disabilities are not able to go to the health facilities. Moving to priority number 7, prevention, early identification and intervention. It is also a responsibility of all of us, including health and police, and to avoid accidents that might cause disability, to avoid harmful things that might cause children to be born with disability. The Ministry of Health ensures that people vaccinate, mothers vaccinate their children, and they also attend clinic during their pregnancy to avoid disability. Looking at priority number 8, which is access to justice system. We have a problem whereby people with disabilities encounter problems in our courts. When there are cases, they are not able to go and testify, and there's people, particularly those with intellectual or mental disability, they are not acceptable, and their witness is not acceptable, and testimony is not acceptable in our courts. But with the disability equity bill that I was talking about, we have proposed that persons with intellectual disabilities should also be listened to in our courts. And people with visual impairment, hearing impairment should also have a means of communicating in the courts. There should also be an interpreter in all of the services that are provided by public. That's why we say access to information is of paramount importance. Even this document we are having now, we are going through, we need to come and braille it for people with disabilities to be able to read the document. And we are encouraging that other ministries should also braille important documents that should be known by everybody within the country, for people with visual impairment to be able to know what is happening in the country. Looking at the coordination, I've already touched the coordination system. Basically, this is how the policy came about. The plan came about. We went through the policy to check the priority areas. Then we looked at capacity building, what's going to be happening to capacitate persons with disabilities. We also went through advocacy and awareness raising, and we went to ministerial commitment, what the different ministries and how they should commit. That's why we engaged them when we drafted this plan. As I said, there is a list of different people that we engaged, there's different stakeholders that we engaged when we were drawing the plan. We also looked at workplace mainstreaming. It is important to ensure that the working environment is conducive for people with disabilities. And if there's adjustments that need to be made for them to accommodate a person with disabilities, it should be done by the employer. In the Disability Equity Bill, there's also a clause that indicates that adjustments should be made. A person should not be denied employment due to their disability. Therefore, the employer has to adjust and make the environment conducive for that particular person. We also went through the management processes, how management should deal with disability, and how it should ensure that people within the workforce also accommodate persons with disabilities within the workplace. Policy dialogue and disability rights and mainstreaming is one of the items that we talked about, and this is normally done by enlightenment or awareness creation when we have events like special days, International Disability Day, International White Cane Day, Braille Day, different days. That's when we create awareness about disability to make sure that people in the country also accommodate people with disabilities. Budget support. We were expecting to have different principal secretaries here. I'm very disappointed to see that they're not here. They are supposed to be here as the ones responsible for the budgets of the different ministries to ensure that they accommodate for the plan. What has been planned for the next 10 years, they should start now with the budgets that we are already drawing now. I hope the staff that is here, there's ministries that are represented. I hope you'll talk to your principal secretaries to ensure that they accommodate this plan in their budgets. Monitoring and evaluation, like we indicated, we will ensure that we monitor and evaluate progress on the implementation of this plan. At this juncture, I would like to say I saw Ntate AK, he's here with us. They have really supported us through EU and CBM. We really appreciate all the efforts they have placed and all the support they've given us for us to come up with this plan. At this point, I'll say thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Masapani, Director, Disability Services. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, there's going to be a slight change on our program. Instead of having questions in the moment or comments, we will go straight to the official launch of the plan by the Honorable Minister right now. I apologize for him because he has to attend a cabinet meeting immediately after this. I'm sorry for that. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This marks a very significant moment in the quest for this ministry to align itself with the convention that it has signed. I can only point out that later this year, we'll be tabling our bill in Parliament, the Disability Equity Bill. And by this, we are trying to say, we are sounding warning to everybody else out there that if you should, not align yourself with coming up with inventions in your ministries, in your institutions, to accommodate disabled persons, you will be in a fix. You'll be in trouble. That MP, we would like to see the answers, the daily documents in Parliament being produced in Braille. We want to see that happen. And all the laws that you pass in Parliament should be available in Braille. And we would like for the discussions in Parliament to accommodate people with disabilities in all forms. That building, that state-of-the-art building should be redesigned to accommodate them. And that by saying that, I'm talking to everybody else in this house, and even those who are not in this house. It is time we realize that they are amongst us, and they must be included in all our national agenda. I thank you.
Now we are going to follow our program. If you have questions, you have comments, I think it's time for you to ask questions. Honorable Kompi, while they are actually preparing to ask questions, I've heard that the minister said, you are going to be in charge to see to it that every document this time is written in Braille. In fact, we don't have Brailled documents. So I'm happy that you are here, and the minister said it loudly that you have to see to it that such documents are there. Honorable Kompi is a member of Social Cluster. He's always whipping us, and today we have gotten him. Thank you very much. It's time for us to ask questions, to raise comments. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
But my interest is that, do you accommodate every disability in here, including, I'm interested in Maseru getting a disability school there. So if you can say that is also included, then I'll be fine.
All people are included here, persons with disabilities. We've got DPOs, Disabled Persons Organizations. Maseru falls under the one that caters for physical disability. It is accommodated.
My question is on monitoring and evaluation of the plan. I would like to know if there's any midterm evaluation of the plan foreseen, because it will be important to take stock of what you have achieved even before the plan comes to an end. Thank you.
We will be evaluating the plan on a yearly basis. We have budgeted for quarterly meetings. The Ministry of Social Development has budgeted for quarterly meetings in which we will be engaging all the implementers and then see how far they are. So it won't be just after a year or two. Every quarter we'll be meeting and checking on progress and seeing how far we are. So we have catered for that.
My question is about accessibility. I see the priority areas, access to public transport. And how about the built environment, like the buildings, accessibility? I think that's also quite important area to be prioritized. And I see there are 8 priorities, and if there are the focus areas in the priorities, like priority number 1 should be more focused. If there is, I'd like to know about it. But if there is no, that's fine. But, and also if there is a priority areas, especially in these 8 priorities, I'd like to know how did you decide, how did you prioritize?
We were working with the document that we already have, which is the National Disability and Rehabilitation Policy. Unfortunately, I don't think you have that policy, but I think everybody, we have had several meetings in which we have circulated that policy. It was adopted in 2011. So we went through the priority areas within that policy, and this is the implementing tool of that policy. The policy is going to be reviewed after 5 years, which is fortunately in 2016. We are going to be reviewing the policy. When we review the policy, we are going to accommodate everything that was left out. Unfortunately, we could not make an addendum to the policy that is already lapsing this year. It has to be reviewed next year. Talking about buildings, we talked of, there's somewhere where we talked about structures within the document. I'd like to go Public Works and Transport. The Ministry of Public Works and Transport, effective institutional frameworks. I just want to go through this to check. On page 8, it is apparently the same ministry that is also responsible for transport. The same ministry. It works for transport and buildings. Do you see page 8? It says that it operates through the following sectors, which is roads directorate, building design services and buildings, road safety, traffic and transport, civil aviation and Mushoshowan Airport. So buildings, there's already an existing law. It's the Buildings Control Act of 1995. So it's already accommodated by that ministry responsible for transport.
Ke utlwile go bolelwa go na le incentive ya taxation e tla fuwa batho ba tlo tla ba accommodate the people with disability in their transportation cars. So ke re na, for people who are going to restructure their buildings for these people to also be accommodated, for people who are going to hire them in the business industry, are they going to get the same privilege or it's only for transportation?
Within the Disability Equity Bill, there are different clauses that address different issues. There's a clause that addresses employment and employers. And there's a clause that addresses structures and buildings. There is a clause that addresses transportation. Tax rebates are going to be given to people who adjust their transport system. If I recall, we haven't indicated that there should be a rebate for buildings, because actually when buildings are constructed, they should comply with the Buildings Control Act of 1995. Unfortunately, several buildings have been built after that law, but were ignoring the law, the act. And as such, their buildings were not conducive and acceptable for persons with, for persons with disabilities. In the first place, there's already an act they should have complied with. I don't remember us giving them a tax rebate because they were supposed to have complied from the onset. Am I correct, Mayor Dinke?
Yes.
Exactly. Okay.
Just one on that, even for the employers who would adjust their premises for persons with disabilities, and also for disability, there will be some incentives for them, especially the private sector, for the private sector. So the law stipulates that if the private sector accommodates persons with disabilities and make some necessary adjustments, there is also an incentive for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Now, like I said, we are going to follow our program. According to our program, we are going to have the presentation of, yes, by the Chief Executive